not reaching home school this, so I'm going to take a rest, right? I'm really exhausted.
Good morning, class. Before we begin our next lesson, can I get an update on our group assignment that's due next?
Yes, sir.
Group 1, let me hear how far you've reached.
Sir, we're done. We're ready to submit. Can we give you ours today?
Of course. Put the project in the cubby. Group 2, what about you? Group 2, what's the problem? May I have an update?
So we almost done, you know. But we didn't get nothing from Dayna. And like she answered her WhatsApp on nothing. So we reached out.
So she real sick and weird. So like she can't communicate.
I don't like she. I hate to work in a group with people like that.
What happened to she? Like she shop around.
Group 3, how's your midterm project coming along? Miss, we're not finished yet. We tried, but only some of us doing the work.
We don't ever hear nothing from Nicole in the group chat. She always making us something.
And anytime we return class, she acting like she don't see us.
Yeah, miss. She just really be acting like she do I know something. Just yesterday, we standing right in front of her asking about the project, and she didn't even say a word.
This is why I don't like this group thing. Somebody always being lazy.
I wish I could have done this on my own, yes? Me too.
Okay, students, now that we have taken out the note, we are going to work on an assignment in groups of 3.
So we activated last week.
We have to work in groups of 3. There are 6 of you, we have to work in groups of 3. We have to learn to work with one another in this.
Hey Krish, what's up?
Hey, Lerissa, you're having some problems in school. Right now, I feel like we're having real issues with inclusivity, and I don't know what to do to help out.
Yeah, well, I could totally relate to you. Just the other day, Nicole and I was talking about this, and she said she's struggling with it too. You know what? We could probably do a group call and, bounce some ideas off of each other and see how we could help one another out.
Sure, that sounds like a plan. I'll give you a call later.
Yeah, all right. So I'll message them and let them know, find out the availability.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Hey,
Hey.
Larissa. Thanks for organizing this meetup. I'm so glad to see you all. You know, I can't sleep without dreaming about these problems with inclusivity in school. You know, I dreamt Dayna, and she's a neurodivergent student. Alicia, with her visually impaired, and Sabrina, who was being left out from all these projects. It's real stressful, and I'm sure you all can relate to this in your school environment.
Yeah, Krish, if you know how grateful I am that you brought up this topic, because I experiencing similar issues with regards to students being excluded by their peers. Sometimes, it's my fault because I overlook simple things in my classroom with the layout or activities. But here now, this topic is really important. Just the other day, I saw the Ministry of Education was running a 4-week course entitled Creating an Inclusive School. It was one of the initiatives for sensitizing teachers on inclusive practices and the importance of it in classroom nowadays. Unfortunately, I didn't get to sign up for it because my school got the memo late, but I decided to still go ahead and do a little independent research to understand the topic as it seems quite relevant and, just in case they start to implement things. In the memo, it had some helpful information to help frame my research. Let me send it in the chat here just in case anyone wants to do some reading of their own.
But don't you can't chat about ways, girl. This is real reading. You don't want
Yeah,
to just give a short version.
no problem. So, in short, I understand that inclusive education practices aim to promote equitable access and opportunities for all students, regardless of their background and abilities. In the 2021 Sub-Education Policy Review Report on inclusive education, UNESCO stated that inclusive education is a child's right, not a privilege. Inclusion promotes quality and equitable education for all, without exclusion, including those who may be potentially marginalized by learning need or social position. They went on further to explain the conception of special needs as being redefined over some time, not only to cover disabilities and cognitive function per se, but it has been expanded to include gender, health and nutrition status, language, geographic location, culture, religion, economic status, variables often associated as barriers to achievement of the education for all. So the EFA movement. Efforts to broaden the scope of inclusion to converting all barriers to attainment of EFA was regarded by many as transformational phases in the educational learning environment.
By chance, you know what they meant by transformational phases?
Right. So in the memo from the MOE, I saw them mention something about a wave model, and I had no idea what that was. So I decided to research that as well. Apparently, there are 3 different stages in the inclusion. So this whole system called waves that addresses the topics. What UNESCO was referring to as their transformational phases is the educational and learning environment that was further addressed in their 2021 Global Education Monitoring Report. The first wave focuses on physical integration, so placing students in the classes regardless of their abilities. The emphasis is on placing students with disabilities in the same physical space as their peers without necessarily addressing their individual learning needs.
Well, that has been something that the ministry has been doing a while now, seeing that we are being met with increasing numbers of neurodivergent students and other students like that in the classroom. But how are we supposed to meet the needs of the students if we are just placing them in the class? That is one of my concerns. And what does UNESCO propose?
So UNESCO says that the second wave involves providing appropriate accommodations, modification, and support services to ensure that the students with diverse needs can fully engage in learning activities alongside their peers. This may include specialized instruction, assistive technologies, and support from special educational professionals.
Well, I cannot tell you how happy I am to be included in this discussion, as I've been having some issues with regard to inclusivity and how to meet the needs of those children and how to improve my class delivery.
Same girl, me too.
Just the other day, I was preparing a lesson and I was exploring some different teaching strategies and ways to integrate the curriculum. Inclusive learning goes hand in hand with the UDL, which is Universal Design for Learning, a set of principles for curriculum development that gives all students an equal opportunity to learn. I think that is in line with UNESCO. UDL provides a blueprint for creating instructional goals, methods, materials, and assessments that work for everyone, not a single one-size-fits-all solution, but rather flexible approaches that can be customized and adjusted for individual needs. UDL shares many commonalities with the theory of multiple intelligences espoused by Harvard professor Howard Gardner, whose work documented the extent to which students possess different kinds of minds and therefore learn, remember, and perform and understand in different ways.
That sounds so interesting. Can you tell us a little more, Dayna?
According to CAST, which is an online resource, there are 3 primary brain networks that are responsible for how a person learns: the affective network, the recognition network, and the strategic network. These networks provide the basis for the 3 UDL guidelines: engagement, or the why of learning, which corresponds to the affective network; representation, or the what of learning, which corresponds to the recognition network; action and expression, or the how of learning, which corresponds to the strategic network. Some students are visual learners, and we know that from our experience. Others may grasp information better when it is presented through text, and I think I'm a learner like that. Or when it is spoken orally or taught through kinesthetic learning. Some students do best with a combination of the above. While these different teaching methods may support the needs of students with disabilities, they also offer diversity of instruction to the entire classroom, giving each and every student an opportunity to learn in the best way that they can.
This makes so much sense, and I can see the varied intelligences in my students.
Similarly, using different mediums to present information and engage students in important inclusive classrooms, multiple means of action and expression is another UDL guideline meant to represent the how of learning. Some students may find that their best outlet and means of expression comes through writing, while others may prefer to give an oral presentation or act out or a play or create a piece of art. And I know many of my students like the role playing and the creative part of the classroom. Each student is different and should be given the opportunity to express their knowledge through the methods that work best for them. Additionally, teachers can use a diversity of materials and mediums to engage their students. Examples of mediums could include theater, art, video, computer software, in addition to the traditional means of lecture and text. Through varied teaching methods and mediums, teachers can increase the engagement of the entire class, not just the students who respond to a particular style of learning and expression.
You know, Dayna, I know, if you know how happy I am that you brought up this thing about universal design for learning, and especially Professor Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences. I really think I need to reshape how I design my lessons and assignments, and try to design them to meet the needs and the learning styles of my students like Dayna. But I wonder how I could help somebody like Alicia. She has a visual impairment. What you all think? Nicole?
Well, this is correct, Krish, because I can certainly identify with the difficulties visually impaired students face, having encountered a student like that myself. Let me just share a little bit, give some perspective. So this student passed for school post-SCA, and at the time, we had absolutely no resources to assist her. Initially, having the student in the classroom with the other students who were not challenged in that way was very frustrating for her, the other students, and of course the teachers. Thus, we were aware that the whole concept of exclusion existed, and we worked hard to try to remedy this. Meanwhile, students being students, they engage in some counterproductive behavior based on engaging in some of the isms like lookism and ableism. Some students actually believe that her disability somehow made her inferior to them, and they judged her based on her physical appearance. You know how those kids could be.
Mm-hmm.
Her eyes were beyond the average size, bulgy even, and this caused students to discriminate against her. Roets and Van Hale, 2011, posits that our constant need to categorize everyone and everything sees us falling into what seems to be the proverbial discriminatory and prejudicial trap. Soon, we were able to actually implement some assistive technology to help the student access the curriculum better. Resources such as Braille, text reader, and even eventually, we got an assigned aid from the Ministry of Education. I don't have to tell you how long that takes. Teachers actually worked tirelessly to modify the structure of their lessons with the aim of being more inclusive. Edinburgh, 2006, actually did a study which investigated the impact of assistive technology on students with disabilities across the curriculum. So they looked at that students' inability to access certain parts of the curriculum based on their disability. So from that study, we definitely knew that we were on the right track.
That's definitely a unique situation, yo.
Of course, there are more subtle ways that we can create an inclusive space for students who are visually impaired. For instance, just having the students sit closer to the whiteboard in the various classroom spaces and even enlarging the font size on printed resources can make a world of difference. However, Despite these measures, her disability was sometimes still a challenge, and so she was even provided with the added option of typing assignments so that she would be able to modify her font size, and even had access to a magnifying glass for subjects like geography, which includes some map work. There are so many other ways that we can help visually impaired students find their way in and around the classroom, and by extension, the world, because we're preparing them for more than just what exists between our four walls. Ultimately, as teachers, I think we would all like to create a more inclusive classroom.
Nicole, thanks so much, eh? But I feel like you do your debate before But I'll try to move Alicia and try to from a regular seat and put her to somewhere probably better suited to her eyesight. And try to adapt my notes and the classroom to help out. Also, after I'll find out from her parents if she could bring a magnifying glass because I'm a geography teacher and that would really help with the map work.
Yeah.
So, Melissa, what's your take on all of this?
Well, Krish, firstly, I have an ADHD student in my classroom, whereas I realized that his classmates were bullying him because of his learning disability. I use methods such as being proactive, where I have the class play role plays before it happened, and this helped the student understand from both sides and showed more empathy towards the students. Usually, role plays can simulate situations that the student may encounter. In accordance to David Knobs, in 1984 in his theory, experiential learning style theories, in short summary, he said that learning as doing, right? So also too, I also organize field trips and invite the parents to come along so that the students can see the engagement of parents with the students and they can be enlightened them as how to react in situations where it becomes uncomfortable. I've also shown videos in class of bullying and we have class discussions as to how to resolve these situations. That is conflict resolution. And this is one of the core topics in HFLE. I would have point out facial expressions in characters and ask students whether they were acceptable or not. And also I would give them a constructive criticism by using the sandwich approach. That is, one, recognizing what they have done well, two, then offer suggestions for improvement, and three, then reinforcing what they are doing well.
So I feel like you've been working hard with your students. Eh? It's true when we say we're not teaching a subject, we are teaching a child. And I still feel like we're missing a little something. This isn't feeling complete. Lerissa, what do you think?
Well, remember, we're talking about waves. So we did 1 and 2. So there was a third wave. So UNESCO was saying it involves creating an inclusive school culture now. School culture and environment where all students feel valued, respected, and supported. It goes beyond the needs of individual students now, and it addresses systemic barriers of inclusion and promotes the full participation of all the learners in all aspects of their school life.
Talking about this inclusive culture, Piaget said that children are in their final operational stage at age 12, and all these children should know how Dayna and Alicia and Sabrina are feeling by their actions. I really didn't appreciate how my students treated them. And I feel, we as teachers, as Vygotsky put it, should be the more knowledgeable other. We should teach our students how to treat each other. I will have a serious talk with them tomorrow morning and continuously encourage them to love and respect their fellow classmates. I'll try to improve on my role as the form teacher and help guide the attitudes and mindsets of my students. I know watching time, ladies? I feel the wifey coming home just now and I gotta go and cook some food. So let me go and cook a roti, but I have to tell you, I feel this meeting was so productive. Thank you all for being here. I'm so happy to have you all as friends.
No problem, Krish.
Yes,
Do have
no
a blessed
problem.
evening.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
All right, take care, everybody.